And hello everybody, welcome back to the channel guys. I hope you are all well. We've got quite a lot to discuss in today's live stream, hence why I went live instead of making it a sort of video from the British politics space. Of course, as you can read in the title, we've got a Labour MP just torching his own government. We're going to be going through that, but there's also a few other developments that's happening. Of course, a little bit on the sort of grooming gangs, as Kemi Badenoch has unveiled plans to set up her own inquiry. So as stated guys, we've got quite a lot to discuss in this area of British politics. But as always guys, please do hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more. Let's start off with this first. So, as you can see here, guys, the first thing that we want to discuss is this. Keir Starmer faces major threat to premiership as Labour group canvasses party for new leader candidates. Keir Starmer is facing a major threat to his premiership after a think tank that once supported the PM's leadership campaign canvassed party members on potential candidates to replace him. Labour Together, which was previously run by the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff Morgan McSweeney, has begun polling members on who would be the best fit for the party. The survey seen by The Times asked who stands the best chance of leading Labour to electoral victory at the next general election in comparison to Keir Starmer. Members were also asked to rank who they would be likely to vote for in a leadership election out of the list potential successors and place them on a scale of very left-wing to very right, the newspaper reports. Health Secretary Wes Streeting, former Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, and Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood were among those named as potential candidates. Now, again, as we've been discussing this quite a lot, and it almost seems that every single day there's always something that is undermining Keir Starmer. Something. Whether it was yesterday where we spoke about a donor potentially having a conversation about withdrawing their support from the Labour Party, to Labour think tanks, or think tanks that once supported Keir Starmer. We've also got this as well, which we're going to get into, a petition demanding immediate general election closes as Keir Starmer braces for crunch PM MPs debate, which we'll get to in a moment. And then, of course, the grooming gangs. But let's go to what you guys have been waiting for, and that's that a Labour MP basically launches an attack on his own government over, this user says, cancelled elections. It's not cancelled elections, it's suspended elections. As we know, that the mayoral elections were supposed to go ahead in 2026, but they were postponed to 2028. And we've seen a lot of parties, of course, unhappy over this. It's pretty unanimous across the board that they're not happy with this decision to suspend them, and rightfully so. It's like a threat on democracy, in all honesty. Our latest update on that was that Nigel Farage is set to launch a legal battle with regard to this whole situation. But this is a Labour MP coming out against Keir Starmer's decision to do this.
Jim McMahon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I need to be blunt, as I usually am. We need to be better than this. Local leaders across the political spectrum worked in good faith. They put aside self-interest and differences, and they did everything asked of them to secure a better settlement for the people that they represent. They reasonably expected the government to do the same. The postponed elections last year were to allow these mayoral elections to be agreed, to be consulted on, for the statutory tests to be met, for funding to be confirmed, all of which was done, with just the legislation being laid for the May 26 polling day. That's why Labour and other parties have already selected their candidates. The government had a moral and a legal obligation to honour its side of the bargain. Following a statutory process, all involved had a reasonable expectation that these elections would go ahead. And the government knows that trust is hard won, but it's easily squandered.
So there you go. I mean, it's not every day that you actually, I mean, we hear about internal fightings inside the Labour Party. And I think actually on this one, I think he was recently, he's no longer a sort of minister with inside, but he still represents Labour. But when he's got people that are connected to the Labour Party coming out and actually saying things like this, speaks volumes, really. It really does. Coming out and undermining the leader of the Labour Party over this decision. And again, what you're seeing Keir Starmer's sort of close circle is them try to defend every move that he makes. However, what we're seeing in behind the scenes, the backbenchers, everyone else, it's all falling apart, and they're struggling to actually defend the Prime Minister over his decisions on certain things. And that's what we're seeing, of course, here. They don't even believe what they're saying here. They think that they should, of course, be keeping these mayoral elections up there, because people have been preparing for these mayoral elections for it to go ahead in 2026. Money wasted, campaigns launched. It just makes zero sense whatsoever. However, another thing, guys, well, we'll get to this one as well. Petition demanding immediate general election closes as Keir Starmer now braces for Crunch MPs debate. As stated, we called for a general election, got 1 million, over 1 million signatures, and that will now see this debate essentially go ahead. Obviously, nothing happens with these petitions. They'll go, oh, well, they have to debate it, but look, it's going to be debated in Westminster Hall on January 12th. So put that in your diary. We'll be watching that. But usually with these petitions, nothing comes out of it. Another thing, Labour are dragging their heels with is, of course, the grooming gang inquiry. It's dead in the water. It's something that was announced 6 months ago that Labour were going to be doing, and at this time of recording, they haven't even appointed a chairman. Now, ahead of today, and we're going to be covering this a little bit later on, Kemi Badenoch has unveiled her alternative grooming gang inquiry with a new focus on groomers, religion, and ethnicity. Her Conservative Party laid out its own draft terms of reference for the national probe after accusing Labour of dragging its feet this morning. Kemi presented the proposals on Monday, developed alongside abuse survivors, setting out a timeline to assure victims that an inquiry will not drag on. At the conference, the Tory leader urged the government to establish a national statutory inquiry examining both state institutional failures and any ethnic, religious and cultural links to the crimes. Ms Badenoch further vowed that a national grooming gang inquiry must leave no stone unturned. Speaking at the venue in the heart of Westminster, the Conservative leader said, "We want to work cross-party with anyone who wants to see an inquiry done. We want to help the government to deliver this, but the inquiry and its terms of reference should be written behind closed doors. Should not be written behind closed doors. They should be written by survivors who know what happened and who know what needs to be looked at. This is why today we are presenting terms of reference that is based on what the survivors have told us and what must have, and which is also importantly follows Baroness Casey's recommendations. I want to be clear that a national inquiry must leave no stones unturned. It must investigate councils, the police, and even the government if necessary. It must be time limited, and it must consider the role of ethnicity, religion, and other cultural factors." Also, we've seen this morning, and we'll probably get to that a little bit later on, the Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp announced that his team would impose 2-year time limits on the inquiry as well. And to be fair, he went ham in an interview this morning with regard to this. So what we're seeing here again is credit. That's what the opposition's there for, of course, trying to actually move something forward here, the Conservatives, because Labour have done nothing. I mean, we spoke about it quite a lot 2 months ago, didn't we? We spoke about it a lot 2 months ago, and nothing has happened since then. They're not even appointed a chair, and we were starting to get stories from the survivors of actually what was going on and how they were being treated with inside this sort of inquiry. But again, we'll see what happens here. The problem is this sort of cross-party thing. Whilst the Conservatives, Reform may come up with certain things and may want to try and reach out and do something, get justice for the victims, what you'll find is Labour and their ego. They don't want this to go ahead. They don't want this to happen. And they will just say, well, we're not going to be taking advice of the Tory party who left us in the country state in 14 years of failure. That's what you'll hear from Keir Starmer. They won't work with any other party, and it's becoming increasingly clear that they don't want this to go ahead. Otherwise, they would have made huge steps 6 months later. But guys, let's get into the live chat. Do let me know your thoughts on all of what we've discussed. I know there's been quite a few things that we've discussed in today's live stream thus far. But I'm just going to take a little bit of live reaction before I sign off. It's going to be a busy day, I think. There's quite a lot of things going on, so credit to all of you. I'm glad that we covered 3 stories in one. But what do you make of Keir Starmer at this moment in time? What do you make of his position so far? What do you think is going to happen in this sort of... We know we hear it every day, people turning, this sort of internal fightings inside the Labour Party. Do you think anything is going to happen with his position? Do let me know down there in the comment section below. And I will be back later on for another live stream. Take care. Look after yourselves. Peace.